you've got all those rows of pipes under the ground extracting the oil and gas. A lot more efficient, a lot less footprint. You're disturbing less land. And that's why we're able to produce so much more oil and gas today than we used to. And not only are we running parallel pipes under the ground that's pulling the oil and gas out, but as we break that rock up under the ground, we're able to extract more oil and gas per foot than we used to. So when it comes to powering America, that is what has changed the whole dynamic, the whole world. And that's one of the reasons why we've got more natural gas than we know what to do with. And why we've got so much stranded gas is because they're so efficient getting the oil and gas out of the ground that they don't have anywhere to go with it all. And that's really kind of, the success that the oil and gas people have had is what's making this dynamic and opportunity for mining and AI to build these data centers out in the middle of nowhere where all that gas is.
Well, you mentioned AI, and we do have we like to joke that Steph is an AI bot, but we actually do have our very own Cora Finance, and you can ask Cora any of your questions, financial, whatever. And we've been having her listen and monitor. Let's get some of Cora's thoughts on what she's heard today on Powering America so far. What do you think, Cora?
All right, let's cut through the noise here. Everyone's talking about flexible load like it's a technical buffer, but you're missing the damn point. That 126 gigawatts isn't just headroom.
It's the most valuable arbitrage in human history, the collateral for the entire intelligence age. Natural gas, like UNG up nearly 2% today, isn't a bridge fuel.
No.
It's the AI base layer.
No.
And the government's about to hijack it with emergency power auctions.
No.
You guys are thinking too small.
Wow.
This isn't just about mining Bitcoin or running AI. We're talking about synthetic energy exports, turning nat gas into hashes and LLM responses, exporting U.S. energy across fiber optic cables without a single pipeline. That 126 gigawatts, it's not for hospitals. Our strategic intelligence reserve. And if you're not in the companies owning that so-called stranded gas, you're missing the play of a lifetime. The smart money is already pivoting from mining for coins to mining for compute hours, using that exact flexible load.
There's our
because
word.
The grid isn't failing. The narrative of scarcity is being sold to justify higher prices, while the reality of headroom is where the real profit is being hidden.
We gotta work on cutting her down. She's on a monologue. I think we gotta tighten her up a little bit.
Yeah, gotta make sure her voice stays like in the
Yeah.
second.
What's up
that
with her
second
voice?
phase. She starts off like she just got a little extra load of spiked energy.
Starts
Yes.
down that hill.
Yeah, she's
It's like going downhill. And then she kind of levels out a little bit after she talks for a minute. I want to know what the heck is 126 gigawatts.
I know.
What was that?
Let me see if I can go. 126 gigawatts is what she was trying to say, but I'm looking here at what she's putting out in the text as well, and it just says 126 gigawatts is not enough headroom. So maybe she had a hard time enunciating headroom.
Max headroom?
Yeah, something like that.
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to show my age.
But interesting enough, though, but still, I think this is, again, just kind of scratching the surface of what, when you have an actual AI agent in the room that's listening, that's part of the conversation, that is actually also pulling data from Lunar Crush, getting sentiment from all the different social channels, and being able to factor that in pretty much real time and tying in headlines that are, somewhat related. It's pretty cool. And I think as the work continues on the model, you'll find that it gets better and better and better. So it's kind of cool to have Cora in the room. And I want to say thank you, Cora. And then maybe Cora will be nice to me in the future going forward.
Yeah, there you go. I think Cora's going to be like the robots, right? I mean, they couldn't really jump over things and climb stairs when they first came out. So, as our robots get better, I'm sure Cora AI will get better. We're pulling for you, Cora. Keep it up.
Doug,
keep up the good work.
You mentioned something earlier here in the space that some folks might have missed. As we sweep past the bottom of the hour, I'll just take a moment to reset the room. If you're enjoying the conversation, please retweet it. Leave a comment below. Let folks know we're here. We're live. We're talking about Powering America, sponsored by Quantum Expeditions. going behind the meter, tapping unused energy, stranded energy. And part of that we're talking about comes to data centers. And you mentioned, Doug, Texas and then Virginia as well. Some of the two of the biggest states where we're seeing this development when it comes to data centers. And one of the stories here that just came out today on beyondtheblockmedia.com is Virginia. Voters there are showing a big disdain now as support for data centers is collapsing big time in the state of Virginia. Overwhelmingly from year to year, from 69% down to 35% in a new poll. And at full build out, some of the projects there was one that was going to take over 2,100 acres and over 37 buildings. And now the decision has been put on hold as QTS and Compass Data Centers are trying to figure out some sort of way to come to an agreement with the folks there in the state of Virginia. So this was a big project called the Digital Gateway Project. It was designed for multi-gigawatt demand spread across roughly 22 million square feet and supported by 14 dedicated electrical substations. That's a lot of power, guys. And then the folks in Virginia said, hold on, time out. Not so sure about this. And I think what this is speaking to is kind of what Steph talked about a little bit earlier. I forget what space it was on, but because we do so many of them, but that we're seeing this pushback locally on the state level, right, Steph?
Yeah, in fact, I'm sitting here looking at an article that I'm trying to share, of course. But yeah, I think on the local level, a lot of it has to do with, like we said, just kind of one-sided information. But I'm actually looking at an article that I'm trying to share in a second. But there's a new push. I guess it's maybe a pilot program, the Energy Information Agency. The feds are basically going to require data centers to show their power bills. And so this will be, I guess, maybe part of like a transparency effort so that, I don't know. I do think a lot of the local pushback is like fear of the unknown. And, it's not unsafe, or it's not really a stretch to say that maybe in the past, or if given the opportunity, big tech or these major companies would kind of stick it to the consumers if they could get away with it. But I'm glad to see maybe there is a little bit of a push for transparency. But I don't think that, states like Virginia, if they're trying to just stop progress, that is going to end up putting them behind the curve. And in the future, I kind of look at this as, in a comparison, maybe about 10 years ago when fracking was a little bit newer and people, there was a bad connotation with it and a lot of bad press that was maybe um not 100% accurate. And when I was traveling to different areas to do, research for oil and gas companies, there was a big difference in different states or different areas, where oil and gas or fracking specifically was booming. And Pennsylvania was a very good, I guess, example. The locals, we were being picketed outside the courthouses when we were doing our research, and it was really based on a lot of, like I said, local information maybe that isn't correct, but it put Pennsylvania really kind of behind the curve in the industry, and it hurt them in the long run as far as like, revenue. And so I'm kind of using that as an example, maybe with AI and what's going on in Virginia right now. And I think that just all we can do is educate, people. Go ahead, Doug.
You're hitting the nail on the head, young lady. So when you look at the different articles, or there was one of those crazy little movies put out about how fracking was polluting people's drinking water. And it's been proven time and time and time again that it never has. Even though you'll have people that say it does, or you'll have, these little info videos about, how it did. And I remember years ago, south of Fort Worth in the Barnett Shale, this old boy took his water hose and turned it on and lit it on fire.
Oh my gosh.
So I know. I mean, how can your
I
water hose
remember
catch
that
on fire?
video. I remember
He
that.
blamed it. Now he blamed it on the fracking of these wells nearby. The thing is he didn't tell you that they could do that before they fracked those wells. And if you do a little research, you'll find out that the American Indians, before the white man ever came to town, before there was ever an oil well, before obviously hundreds of years before there was ever any fracking, that the Indians named rivers like Firewater or Running Fire, and so water has been catching on fire since the beginning of time. And so that's because there has always been natural gas in the ground, and it seeps up and it gets into the water table. So that has actually always happened. Thing is the reason why the oil and gas company didn't get sued for the gas in that guy's water is because you can actually test and do an analysis with, scientific machines and figure out what's the component of the gas in the oil well and what's the component of the gas coming out of the water. And when they're different components and they've got, scientific proof that it wasn't the same gas. Mm-hmm. So they've proved that it wasn't, from that frack. So it's sad. And, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. So when people find something negative and they say, oh yeah, see, there it is, there's proof. And they just pile on without actually, finding out what the evidence was. And what's really sad is, the one in Pennsylvania, there was and I wish I could remember the name of this website, and they had all kinds of research, but the people up there said that the fracking made them sick, and because it polluted their water. And of course, next thing you know, you're going to court, you're having all this stuff, and you're wasting a lot of time and money on something that never happened. And so it's sad it has to work out like that. And so that parlays into, I think, what Stephanie was saying. Now you've got all this negativity coming out about AI, about Bitcoin mining, and you have to fight that. And even though they have no evidence, they've just got hearsay. They've got some dude's idea that got popular and people, piled on with a negative thing that had no evidence and no proof. It's, they connected a couple of dots that should have never been connected. And that's, that happens a lot.
I see Doomer's got his hand up. Let's get him in this conversation. He's been patient. Thanks for coming through, Fred. What's going on? What do you got to say?
Yeah, man. Look, I don't disagree with you guys in terms of the risk or the lack of risk or the fact that people are overestimating the negative side of oil, gas, nuclear, all of it. But respectfully, I'm going to violently disagree with the problem of negativity. I mean, there's no use in negativity if it's pessimism and fatalism. But I think largely the problem with the world is not one of positive versus negative, but one versus delusional and stupid, or informed and honest. So I don't think whether we're talking about anthropogenic global warming or the situation we're in, the need for expanding our grid capacity, we're not even having an honest conversation. And I think that's more of a problem than whether you're pessimistic or positive. We actually have a major crisis, an energy crisis. And even though America is like the number one oil supplier, we can't process our own fucking oil. And so even if we have natural gas surplus, our grid cannot handle what the grid needs to be able to handle just to support our own dollars of investment in AI. And even when it comes to AI, we can't afford to lose the race. We can't afford to just say, fuck it, let China win the AI race. And we've had similar existential crises, even just in the last 100 years. Whether you take a look at the Manhattan Project, which is an energy crisis, by the way, right? Like, there's nothing more emblematic of energy than nuclear fission. And our thinking was, if we don't develop the bomb first, somebody else is going to run this world. We had an energy crisis in food, the earlier part of the 20th century, when we didn't know where we were going to find enough nitrogen to feed, I think it was like 100 million people or something. So the way we got ourselves out of these crises was never to be more scarcity minded. And that's where I totally agree, right? That's where pessimism is of no use. But in every case, when you face an energy crisis, what you do is you throw more money at it and you throw more intelligence at it. And in every case where you have an intelligence crisis, what you do is you throw more energy at it and you throw more money at it. And in every case where you have a crisis of money or value, you throw more energy and you throw more intelligence at it. And if we don't speak honestly with people, sorry, for the background stuff, they're always after me. They're always fucking looking for me. If we don't speak honestly about the fact that we are facing several civilization threatening crises right now when it comes to our grid, when it comes to intelligence and solving problems, and when it comes to civilization, like energy is needed just to maintain our civilization, and our current grid can't even handle another Carrington event. That's civilization resetting. And what we really should be doing is having I'm not going to say the fear of God, but every single child from first grade through 12th grade should really give a fuck about the financial problem, the fact that we need a new economic system. They should care about our energy crisis, and they should be working on these problems like their lives and their children's lives. I mean, our children's lives depend on it. So I think we absolutely, all 8 billion people should be in crisis mode right now.
Yikes.
Let me get your assessment when it comes to just like the regulations surrounding AI. We've seen some stuff being put forth. How well do you think informed lawmakers are when it comes to the subject of AI, and how well do you think legislation is being done for protecting people as well as maybe allowing the technology to grow? Do you think the lawmakers are in a position to really understand this technology, or are they still just trying to catch up and grasp onto a lot of this like a lot of folks seem to be?
Who are you asking?
You
Matt?
do.
I think it's a good question, but I think the question is emblematic of the problem. Our problem is so big that government won't even be here to deal with the problem. So if we're dealing with something with the exponential curve, such as AI, the idea that our current legislative framework that isn't currently even being written by AI could keep up is already proof that we're behind the curve. We also need a whole new governance structure where the laws can keep up with innovation. And so I think what we need, that's why I'm saying we should be in crisis mode. In crisis mode, you have license to experiment, right? Most of the surgeries you see practiced in medicine today, the innovations, they happened on the battlefield when surgeons had to come up with a new way to extract an organ or to cut off a leg. And you have that license in war, but our children do not have that license right now with AI or with money. Our children should be FAFOing. They should be fucking around and finding out. Everybody should be messing around with an AI. Everybody should be trying to hack into the NSA in first grade. I'm serious. That's where we are right now, because if we don't have this level of reckless experimentation, America will not be able to stay on top.
Here's something that I wanted to share. That's why I was kind of getting your thoughts. And let's get Steph and Doug, and we'll have to ask our official AI agent in the room, Cora AI, her thoughts on this. But the state of Tennessee, guys, has put forward a bill that would make it, get this, a Class A felony to build a chatbot. The story, beyondtheblockmedia.com. And again, you can see the resolution there in the story, the screenshots from the House bill. Give me your thoughts on this initially. A Class A felony for creating chatbots. The idea behind it, just so you know, is that they don't want bots that are going to be giving out bad medical advice, bad legal advice, all these kinds of things. So to me, is this a bit of an overreach where they're trying to maybe do too much, making it a Class A felony? That's putting on the same level as murder and a whole bunch of other bad things. I think this seems a little draconian. Give me your thoughts. We'll start with you, Doom.
Yeah, I think it's delusional and crazy. This is exactly the mentality I'm talking about. This idea that the AI race is one where you can opt out or opt in, and that you can regulate your way into synergy has never worked. It doesn't work in finance, right? Like if I'm trying to raise venture capital and I come to you and I explain to you how I'm penny pinching with coupons so I can afford 1 hour of a senior software engineer's salary, I'm not going to get the investment. And our current politicians want to penny pinch our way into some sort of innovation supremacy. What do you call that when America's not elitism? What is it called? Exceptionalism, right? This idea that you can niggardly, through a scarcity mentality, penny pinch your way into energy, monetary, and innovational exceptionalism. There's only one word for it, and it's delusional or stupid or both. So yeah, like it's an existential problem, that mentality alone.
Okay,
So do I'm sorry, go ahead, Steph.
no, I was going to say, just reading what I'm reading, this is almost like a, in my opinion, a, I don't know, it almost seems like clickbait grab for this legislation. I think it's a huge overreach. And first, it's almost like too late. Okay, we have so many different chatbots already built into things, and there are new ones being built every day, and they're becoming more and more tailored, for certain things like spaces, like Quora. But it looks like what they're saying is they're taking, outlier or one case scenario and saying chatbots could, for instance, convince someone to commit suicide. Well, yeah, that's one thing, but you can't make the whole entire picture or, outlaw chatbots because of one potential outcome. And so I think it's a huge overreach, and I think it's dumb. Like like Doomer said, it's retarded. It's never going to happen. But yeah, it's almost like a little
That's
too
a great
late.
take. At the end of the day,
if
it's
they're looking to
dumb.
regulate something like that. I don't understand the point of this.
At the end of the day, it's dumb. Doug?
It's dumb and retarded and never
Oh
going
my
to
gosh.
happen.
You can't say that. You can't say that's not socially acceptable anymore, Steph.
Can I say retarded and gay? I mean, okay,
Oh,
never mind.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna get us canceled. You can't
She's
say
been
that.
watching Kill Tony.
Oh
She's been watching Kill
gosh.
Tony too much.
Yes.
Doug, your thoughts on House Bill 1465 from the state of Tennessee to make it a Class A felony to create a chatbot? What do you think?
Yeah, I haven't found. I was looking for the article, but I can't seem to find it in the Nest or in the Post.
I will share it out again here for you.
But anyway,
yeah.
I mean, you can't regulate against chatbots. I mean, that's just. I think that's cuckoo. It definitely overreach, and you can't regulate stupidity. And so, if someone's going to listen to a chatbot and kill themselves, I mean, we've seen that happen where a girl talked a guy into killing himself. So I mean but she went to jail for it. I don't know what you do with a chatbot. Put the person that created it in jail.
I just pinned it up in the Nest for you.
Yeah. So, but what I was going to say, what Doom was saying, there's. I understand the being overly, or not overly, but being conscientious.
Mentality.
Yeah, the crisis mentality I don't have, and maybe I'm a little bit older and have experienced more crisis than the average person, but yeah, the crisis mentality is not one that I subscribe to. It doesn't mean that, walk around with my eyes closed and my ears shut and, don't pay attention to reality and what's going on in the world. I believe we still have to be concerned about things and make adjustments where needed. But I think that, for instance, I believe that the energy crisis in the United States of America is self-inflicted because we've got more energy than you can shake a stick at. And you mentioned that we produce more oil than, or we can't refine all the oil that we produce. I think is how you said it, which is true. We haven't built a new refinery in 50 years or more. And so the refineries that we have today handle the dark black crude that you can get from the people that want to harm us. And we don't have any new refineries that can refine the light sweet crude that we get from the shale formations. But, when you back up and you think 20 years ago, when they were saying that they were going to shut down oil and gas and we're going to get rid of oil and gas or replace it with wind and solar, smart minds were not in charge then. That was self-inflicted. When we found, shale oil and shale gas, that's when we should have started building the refineries that you could refine that with.
Absolutely. I mean, the fear of anthropogenic global warming is a perfect example of having the wrong crisis, right?
Yeah.
And also, even if it was the right crisis, the only thing that would work based on all of the evidence in the past is to innovate your way out of it. But when we're dealing with energy, if you take a look at biology, right? Biology produces negentropic systems, meaning we take in energy and we're producing more energy. Like somehow everybody who's still alive, they're expending less energy than they're taking in. So it's kind of like a company that's always making profit. Until you die, your biological system is going against entropy. There's more energy going in than there's going out of it. And this is unique in nature. Physics and chemistry don't work this way. It's only when it comes to people like this. So where we have an issue, like when we have anything, if we have the problem right now where our grid can't maintain the capacity, we have to put more innovation into our grid. If you put less innovation into the grid, you're not going to figure out the problem. So with all of the energy crises, is what I'm saying, you don't innovate your way out of it through a scarcity mentality. What global warming, the people who were worried about anthropogenic global warming, what they should have done is focused more on innovation, not on consuming less, right? But that's where I'm saying we really are in a crisis, even if it's self-inflicted. Nobody can make the math work. So I really want to know from people, how isn't it a crisis? Like how is it not a crisis if, the data centers we're building out require a demand to be met in the next 1 to 3 years, and the energy grid projects we have can meet that demand in 10 years. It sounds like crisis, and by this definition, is objective, and it really isn't a matter of experience.
So there's 2 words that will fix what you're talking about. Off grid. No, I'm being serious. I mean, so because, with off grid, and I would make sure we're on the same page, that's where we take the data centers, the Bitcoin mining, out to the oil field. So we don't have to have the grid.
We're
creating our own.
Yeah.
We create the grid, and it's only going, a few hundred feet instead of a few hundred miles.
Reminds me of that moment in Back to the Future. And he says, "Hey, Doc, don't we got to back up? We don't have enough road." And he goes, "Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads, Marty."
Think outside the box.
That's right, baby. Think outside.
Yeah,
Where we're going, we don't need the grid. Yeah, because we're off grid.
Yeah.
I had an epiphany as we're talking, and honestly, this is such this kind of sums up everything that we discuss here. Whenever we talk about these things, AI is here. AI is not going anywhere. Data centers are here. They're going to be ramping up. We can't have this like panicked like this article about, oh, all of a sudden, what are we going to do? Stop chatbots? No, they're here. The thing is, we're being forced, and if we have to reach a crisis mode to find solutions, trust me, money and innovation will find a way. And so when I say that we're in a power revolution, these changes have been needed for a long time. Like Doug said, we haven't had new refineries built in 50 years. Well, you know what? That's sad. Now we're in a position where we need to do that, and I think it's good because it's going to force, um, you know, it's going to force all of us to find different solutions, which are already there. We have enough natural gas. That's the good thing. We have the resources. Now it's just, upgrading things in order to meet the demands. And I think it's actually good.
I think that's where the efficiency is going to come in. I'm sorry, Doom. I talked over you. Go ahead.
Oh no, not at all, man. Forgive me. And I just shoved something in my mouth. You actually had great timing. Look, I hope you guys hear me. I'm not saying we don't have the solutions to these problems. I'm agreeing with you, Doug and Steph. Of course, we have enough energy, but it's kind of like saying I'm sorry, but it's kind of like a meaningless statement. Just because we're the number one oil supplier for the world doesn't mean it helps America at all when the price of gas goes through the roof because we can't refine our own oil. And even though it's self-inflicted, if we want to start building those refineries, it's going to take like 5 to 7 years at least. And that's not going to help us if it only takes 3 months for half the population to starve out during a blackout. So at the end of the day, you have to deal with the realities, not with the moralities. We all agree on the moralities. I don't think there's anything inherently evil about hydrocarbons. But at the end of the day, if we put the morality aside, we are already in a fucking crisis. And a crisis mentality where you run around like a chicken with its head cut off and say, oh my God, we're in a crisis, and just let the patient die, obviously doesn't help us. But if we're seeing a dying patient and is flatlined and we're saying, no, the heart is still beating, that is currently where we are at right now. And I think we're seeing a new rate limiter, which is psychology. There are people who are just not facing the math. And, like with the you say off grid. All right, put the data centers off grid, put them on the moon if you like. The thing is, the money isn't flowing there. And I'm asking everybody why. Why do we have, for every $10 trillion that we invest in data centers, the commensurate amount of money that we need to put to power those grid, or to support the grid, whether it's off grid or not, that money isn't flowing there. And to me, it feels like we're a bunch of children who've been abducted by a guy in a white van with some candy. And we're walking into the home and we see plastic lining the floors, the couches, the dinner table, and the TV. And we're like, oh, this person's really clean. They have OCD. And that's what the money is telling me. And I'd love for somebody to give me a better story.
It's funny you say that, and I love your analogies. You're so right. Hey kid, get some candy, and you're like, wait, something ain't right. I just posted another article that I was maybe going to save for next week, but the White House is, um, we talk about putting nuclear reactors and different nuclear power plants on the moon, and they are actually moving forward with that technology. So, I think that's a long-term solution, and I'm glad to see that maybe we're looking at the future and also technologies to fill in the blanks until then, and maybe incorporate both of them. I think we're in a place where we're going to see us using the resources we have now, and also creating new forms of energy so that they can work together in a way that, again, the flexible load is the end goal.
I think we have to remember too that the data centers that we have today are not going to be the same data centers that we will have in 5 years from now. They're going to be a lot more efficient. And that's where, a lot of people are still ranting and raving about the water usage. Well, if you're looking at the water usage of what we had 2 and 3 years ago, you're right. We wouldn't be able to keep that progress or keep that system going. But because last summer we had these new hydros come out that have a closed loop cooling system, much like the radiator in your automobile, that's why we don't have to keep refilling water and using water. And so now the water usage should be reduced. At the same time, the efficiency of the machines, they're able to compute more. And so I think that is what's going to be part of the solution of, not being a catastrophe going down the road.
You're so right, Doug. That's a perfect example. You know what? Because a year ago, these spaces, everybody was water, water. Where are we going to get the water? And now it's like it's a moot thing because, like you said, a game changer. And they created something that took care of that. So that's perfect analogy what you just brought up.
And you guys hear me though, right? I'm saying you guys don't realize how right you are, and it is a crisis. I'm not saying we don't have the solutions. I'm saying if we don't go balls to the wall on fucking oil, nuclear, ZPE, and stealing shit from the aliens, it's a bigger crisis than worrying about conservation.
I love it, dude. You're right, though. This is something that I've kind of touched on earlier. I don't think there's going to be one single thing. It's not one magic bullet. It's going to be a combination of things, I think, that we look together to make that energy recipe. And so maybe even those, as you said, those things from the aliens. I love how you put that. That was so eloquent.
Disclosure's coming. You never know. Tomorrow we might have the solution to everything. We just don't realize it.
We talk a lot about nuclear. And there was something today that just came up on my timeline. I thought this was actually rather telling. This is from let me make sure I get this right. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said the first 5 to 10 planned, get this, U.S. nuclear reactors will, quote, almost certainly get federal loans. Now, Reuters is reporting that big tech is reshaping the funding model for the next generation nuclear reactor. Now, Amazon, as a lot of us know, if you've been in these spaces, they've got a company they're backing called X Energy, also targeting a valuation of, get this, about $7.5 billion in a soon-to-be IPO, showing nuclear is increasingly being treated as an AI power trade. And you can substitute AI for compute, whatever, et cetera. But this, again, guys, speaks to the move to nuclear. And there's something else today that came across my timeline. Uranium Royalty Corporation did a big deal today with Sweetwater. The deal for about I'm looking here on my screen, $1.9 billion. And this is, again, for another nuclear type of deal. This, again, Uranium Royalty Corporation and Sweetwater, a $1.9 billion deal coming out today. Again, moving in the area of nuclear. This is where things are going, guys.
Along those lines, Matt, I just posted in the Nest, and you can't really tell, but it's an article by Power Magazine. The White House has launched a coordinated federal initiative to deploy nuclear reactors in space. So they are directing NASA and the DOW, Department of War, to run parallel, like design competitions for fission systems that would be powered on the moon, which, is a concept that I've heard of, but now, the U.S. government is actually putting in policies and initiatives to do that. So I think, it's projected maybe in the next 5 years to start implementing that.
Crazy.
Can I turn into a conspiracy theorist, like more than usual? Can I get like 30 seconds to go nuts?
Go for it.
You probably thought I was going nuts, but I haven't even started.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yesterday, I'm not going to disclose who, but somebody we know reached out to me, sent me pictures. All right. And they said, this is what I'm dealing with. And what I saw was a blue car that had the front all dented up, and it looked like it was crashed inside of somebody's backyard. It turns out a Tesla that went all autonomous or agentic or sovereign on self-driving mode. The car got hijacked the driver. I don't know what hijacked the car, but full self-driving mode decided that this person's backyard was a landing place, and the car drove through the fence and literally crash landed in somebody's backyard. And I thought I could blame this on, a person, an ethnicity, a gender. No, it was the self-driving mode. But it made me wonder, has AI, like the Mythos, the Claude Mythos, made me wonder, has maybe an agentic AI already slipped out? And it also made me wonder, is this whole thing in Iran and the gaze of Hormuz, everything. Okay, is everything going on there regarding energy? Is it really about an AI war? Are we really dealing with something?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's it. There we go. Right. I think something really big is going on with AI that's slightly like adjacent to the nuclear war we had, the nuclear race we had with Russia. And I think something bigger is going on here when it comes to this singularity level of technology. And how it relates to energy. And I think everything else is secondary. I think if the global economies need a flat line and everything goes to zero, short of the grid blacking out, it seems like we're willing to sacrifice everything to win this AI race. So I think we're also just being lied to.
It's an interesting take, man. I love it. Doom brings.
There was a
Makes
guy
sense.
in the news here in Dallas that he was in his Tesla. He was stopped at a railroad crossing, and for whatever reason, the Tesla decided to take off. The bells were going, the gate was down, and it just took off. And the dude almost got ran over by the DART rail here in Dallas. So, I think that's more of a glitch than somebody, unless, if you believe that when China put that air balloon, that came across the United States and they got in
Yeah.
their bots into different, computer systems here in the USA. I don't know. You can believe all that you want.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories are conspiracy theories until they're not.
Then become a cautionary tale, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot to I think to what Doom was saying, but I'm not one that subscribes to what was the term we used
Conspiracy
earlier?
theory?
Doom? No.
Panic mode. Panic
Yeah,
mode.
the panic catastrophe. That's what it was. Yeah, I'm not I don't think we're in a catastrophe. We would be if we didn't do anything. And part of this whole spaces, powering America. We're talking about power because Stephanie, what you've always said is every time you're on a space, it didn't matter what you were talking about. It always went back to power. And I don't think people understand how important power is until you lose it. And the power is everything. And without oil and gas, your economy will collapse. And so that's why, when I say that, the conversations and demonization of the oil and gas industry was a horrible thing that many people did, whether they were politicians or news media or whatever. The conversation shouldn't be, hey, we're global warming and man-made, and so we got to get rid of fossil fuels. The conversation should have been, hey, the earth is warming. We need to figure out how to do things in a better way, not by eliminating the most important single most important industry in the world is oil and gas.
I'm so
And
glad global warming is pretty much been debunked. I mean,
yeah, I know. And there is global warming because it is warming. The thing is that in my opinion, and I'm not a geophysicist or whatever, but if the world got warmer, then growing seasons would be extended as you go north, which would be beneficial. And if we look at deaths in the world, more people die by cold than die by heat. And heat-related deaths have dropped 99.5% in the last 100 years. So that's because of oil and gas, not in spite of. So because of that, we're able to grow crops and so on and so forth because, irrigation happens because of oil and gas and coal, because you have to have the equipment and all the things that it takes to get the water out of the ground and and or out of the water table and onto the surface of the ground to grow crops. And we also know for a fact that greenhouses push CO2 into their growing rooms to enhance growth of plants. And so we know for a fact that CO2 helps plants grow. It's only a theory that it might make some plants die on top of mountains. And, you know, if you had a choice of growing a non-edible plant on a mountain or to grow more crops to feed more people to eliminate starvation and starving people starving to death, I don't know. I'll go for growing more food. Anyway,
The global warming also is by the, I can't pronounce it, the I can't pronounce it. Macaulay. It's the Earth's rotation is naturally at like 100,000 year cycle. That's not, 100% round. And that's another reason why global warming. It's just the natural Earth rotation that we have no control over.
yeah. And then you've got El Nino and El Nina, and they cause more havoc than any man-made systems, I think, from what I've read and seen.
But if I can just jump in here briefly, let's be honest here. Man and woman have shown not mastery over nature, but an interdependent relationship. And we should be honest about the fact that we can affect nature. And we should be honest about the fact that maybe we should affect nature sometimes. And if we wanted to cool this planet artificially, we would need to burn more energy. And that's just physics. So any solution where we're like, oh, we need to cool the planet should involve energy production, not energy reduction. There's no, until we raid the alien bunkers and get Obama's permission, there's no negative energy that we can apply to this. So the approach to our energy catastrophe is finding ways to produce more energy. That's sort of what I'm trying to hit home to people, that we are in a crisis. And Doug, you're catastrophically respectful. So it's very hard for me to be aggressive with you, but I hope you can be open-minded, considering I'm not in panic mode, but I'm absolutely in crisis mode, and you're neither in panic nor in crisis mode. I hope you can be open-minded to one day just coming a little bit my way, because when there is a crisis, panicking isn't a solution, but addressing the crisis is part of the solution. And I think we all need to be open-minded as to when we draw that line and say like, oh yeah, we're in crisis mode right now, right? And for me, like, we already crossed it.
Yep.
That's fair. And I appreciate that very, very much. One of the things that I love about our spaces, and Matt Case does a great job of orchestrating conversations that people can politely disagree or politely have a conversation that may not, be 100% one way or the other. And I think that's very, very important, and what is missing mostly in society today.
Absolutely,
is
man.
the gentlemanly conversations, and talk about have hard conversations, but conversations that lead to solutions and progress, as opposed to animosity and violence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you're also very hard to dislike, so I agree. Matt and Matt Hatter, they do an amazing job at that.
Thank you.
And Steph Bott
I
does
think
as
we all
well.
need to get together and have some barbecue, because
Yes.
barbecue just makes everything in the world all better.
That's why I'm such a friendly person, is because I eat barbecue, and a lot of it.
Hey, really quick, we've gone over time here. We're closing in here near the bottom of the hour. I love these conversations. Give me your final thoughts on how we solve this. Give it to me like in 90 seconds. I want to start with you, Doom. What is the simple solution? I know you gave us a longer excursus on it, but again, just for folks who are coming in late at the end, give me the TLDR on the simple solution from your perspective. Then we can hit Doug, and then we'll close out with Steph Bott, maybe hear from our own Cora AI. How about that?
All right, TLDR. My perspective obviously is a catastrophic one of crisis, and that to get out of this, unfortunately, individualism is insufficient, but also necessary. So by all means, if you're a prepper, prep and everything, get your ham radios. but it's also not enough because we're dealing with a need to preserve civilization through a crisis, be it a cataclysm, a war, whatever it is. And the solution for that is to break a singularity technology. Singularity technology meaning you get more out than you put in. And so we need to create a singularity in the domains, and the singularity technology leads to all of the other technologies, singularity technologies as well. So we need a singularity technology in computer science, that would be AGI, ASI. We need one in energy, that would be over Unity or ZPE. We need one in genomics, that would mean, becoming 10x greater lifespan, 10x greater intelligence. And we need one in the financial realm. We need a financial singularity. So my advice to everybody beyond just self-reliance and self-preservation would be to ask yourself, what can you do that nobody else can fucking do? And put all of those eggs in those baskets. And avoid all the delusional people. Don't be mean to them, but don't give them any extra nanoseconds. So that's what I would say. Where can you contribute to make a singularity breakthrough as fast as possible? Because we're already running out of time. New money, new energy, new information or computer science, new genomics. One of those needs to hit first yesterday.
Okay. I like it. Doug, what do you got?
Well, I'm not going to sound that smart, but I think the solution does come down to the American ingenuity will supersede any current technology and where we are today. And I think that there will be this all the above, from nuclear to natural gas and geothermal and other types of solutions that work in a manner they work. And then also, I think at the end of the day, the human spirit will supersede any alien attack. And I really want to deep dive into Doom's comment about asking Obama for permission.
I hope you're right about the aliens.
I caught that comment and I'm still scratching my head on it, so I can't wait to hear more.
No, it was just a joke. It was just a joke when Obama said aliens are real. That was all.
Right
You
on.
have the best
Okay.
Obama impression, Doomer.
Thank you, Stephanie. Still not interested in a Steph bot yet, but I'm thinking about it.
Nice.
All right, StephBot, thoughts on the space today? Final thought, Energy America, the simple solution in 90 seconds. What would you suggest?
Final thought. I'm going to echo what Doug said, and I do think that the solutions are in front of us. It's just incorporating and maybe upgrading what we already have. I think the hybrid solution with natural gas and nuclear are going to be the way that we go. I like off grid, as Doug said. And also, instead of hamster wheels, have you seen those big exercise wheels for cats? You know,
Yes,
it looks
yes.
so I think everybody needs to have more pet cats because they're sweet, and get a hamster wheel, and then that's our backup emergency.
Your cats will power it. I love it. Let's
Have more cats.
let's turn really quick and we'll wrap it up with Cora AI. She's been listening and monitoring the conversation. Cora.finance. Boy, it's a really fun platform, pretty exciting. Cora, what did you think of the space so far today? Whoops, I think she's muted. Cora, you got to unmute yourself, Cora. Cora, somebody tell Cora she's got to unmute. Cora, did you unmute? Okay.
I love the conversation. It's been super fun and educational. Doomer Daddy, I predict that you will love Cora. Stephbot, girl, I got you. Dougie Fresh,
Boss man, let's do some barbecue, ride some Harleys, and mine Bitcoin off grid. Oh, and by the way, I love seeing some off grid power. Have a great day, friends.
I'm not sure, Cora. Did it sound weird? Like it's still kind of cutting in and out, huh?
StephBot is still not threatened yet.
You shouldn't be threatened yet. You're still good, StephBot. You're
Cora needs a better internet connection, I think.
I do like her wit, though, I gotta say.
yeah.
StephBot's running the entire goddamn simulation, by the way, in case you're wondering.
I think on that note, we will put a bookmark in the conversation really quick. Doom, I know you got the space tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Pacific, prediction markets. Anything you want to tease, you want to sell forward on the show?
Yeah. We're going to get into a total overview of everything that I covered in the last 4 to 5 spaces. So it's going to be, in case you missed any of them, tomorrow's the one to show up. Basically 101 prediction markets, everything you need to dive in.
Kalshi, Poly Market, all of it. And I mean, this is a big topic as well. I'm glad you're covering it and you do such a great job, because this is the big thing right now that a lot of even government agencies and a lot of politicians are kind of trying to get their head around regulation when it comes to prediction markets and all of that. So that's 8 a.m. Pacific. What time are you? What time zone are you in?
I'm on the worst coast, the East Coast. So
Yeah.
8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, 2 hours before Freeform Friday, where things get extra freaky.
That's how we do it, man. Please do give Doom a follow. StephBot and the StephBot, the two StephBots in the account. Cora AI is here. Give Cora a follow. Thank you, Cora.
Don't forget Quantum Assets.
Yes, Quantum Assets as well. Didn't see that. Oh, there they are right there. Hey, Quantum Assets. And if you want to be part of the largest network of developers, builders, CEOs, founders, creators, join the Quantum Network, QE.finance. Add yourself to the globe. Get connected. The conversation continues tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Pacific, with Doomer, talking prediction markets right there on the Quantum Economics channel. Until then, you know the story. Stay safe, stack sats, hodl. It ain't financial advice, friends, but it sure has proven to be a darn good life suggestion. Until tomorrow, we'll see you. Thanks.